Uplift, Conversations with Visionaries, is an inspiring interview series showcasing the journeys of successful entrepreneurs who not only excel in their fields, but also use their success as a force for positive change. Welcome to another episode of Uplift, Conversations with Visionaries. I have Jeffrey with us. He is an incredible visionary. You can see it in his eyes. You can feel it in his energy. You will hear it in his voice. I am super excited to have you on Uplift, Jeffrey. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here, Alicia. It's always good to be with you.
We are going to expose the ups, the downs,
The ins and the outs.
the ins, the outs, and of course, those things that are near and dear to your heart and that you are so incredibly passionate about. The first question I ask all of my guests on Uplift is to share with us one of your highest points, something you're truly proud of in your business, something you've accomplished that is one of those, yeah, that's pretty cool moments.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a proud moment, and there's so many things I learned afterwards from it. But early in my career, I had developed this, co-developed this program called the Spiritual Marketing Quest, and it was an event-based business. We did a couple events a year, and we'd had success right out the gate. We capped our events at 150 people. We sold out every one from the first one on. I had always had a quest to be the best in the world at what I do. I never questioned it. I never even thought that other people didn't have that quest. It was just always silently in the back. And in our third event, I believe, fourth event, Suzanne, my co-conspirator in that program, she and I are both singers. And so we mixed spiritual guidance and business in a way that in the early 2000s was really, really new. And we sang. And the last day of this event, right before lunch, we sang the Gayatri mantra, this kirtan devotional song. And we got done singing, and you could have heard a pin drop. We all 150 of us just spontaneously went into this meditative state together. We kind of looked at each other and just like, don't talk, just sit here with these people in this presence. And it was magical. And that was a moment where I'm like, okay, there's a lot of things that I'm no good at, but at this thing, I think I'm the best in the world at this thing. And part of that best in the world thing was the devotional aspect of business, right? That we could seamlessly integrate devotion and contribution with, impact and money making and commerce. So that was a real highlight relatively early in my career.
I love that. And it is so fitting for the entire theme of this show. We're talking to visionary leaders, visionary entrepreneurs, those individuals who have that deeper calling and they're doing their work in the world through their business. So I absolutely love that story. All right, let's shift gears.
Okay.
Now we're going off the cliff. And I'd love for you to share with us one of your lower points in life, one of those kind of knock you on your ass,
Yeah.
those not so fun moments.
It only comes about a year and a half after the first story. In 2011, I had met this guy that was my absolute fantasy dude. Just like, I mean, if you had the bullet point list of all the things that were my fantasy, there it is. Fell head over heels for that guy. That fall, Suzanne and I in the Spiritual Marketing Quest, we were going like gangbusters. And for some reason, when we went to go book a hotel ballroom for the next event, neither of us were feeling the energy for it, and we didn't know why. So we decided we'd put ourselves on retreat after the holidays. I went back home for the holidays. I came back to California. This guy broke up with me on January 2. Then January 4 through 7, Suzanne and I went in retreat. And by the end of that, realized we were moving in different directions. So by January 7, I didn't have a business. I didn't have a business partner. I didn't have an income stream. I didn't have this dream guy in my, like the whole, those things where you see the rug pulled out from underneath you, or you see the tablecloth pulled, right? It's like everything in my life just got yanked. And I grew up in the Midwest as a Dutchman. I tend to be pretty stoic. I have never cried so much in my life as that year. Just, grieving. I think I was grieving more the fantasy of the guy than the guy himself, right? I didn't realize how much stock I had put in having made it in the coaching industry. And so when that went away, all the identity I'd built up around somebody who had had success, being this visionary entrepreneur, that went away. The whole year was wandering in the dark. Now, I mean, on the other side of that, there's so much I learned, but that probably was my lowest point.
Those low points are full of learning and growth, and they suck.
I mean, they do. And, one of the things I guess I've learned over time, I'm not always great at this, but so much of how they suck is the resistance to just feeling what's there.
Right.
So I feel like I've gotten a bit better at that over the years, but yeah, I'm with you.
For anyone listening, we've all had at least one of those types of experiences, the one that really rocks you. And then we've got like the lesser, ones.
Yep.
And I've always said, especially if a client comes to me and they're going through that phase in their life, good things are coming. Good things are coming.
I'll just say this quickly in terms of lessons. My guidance always says that liminal space, this space between spaces, is the place where we practice faith and trust, right? Because we have to listen to get through it. We have to attune to our guidance. We have to attune to our own inner system, to the signs around us. We're feeling around in the dark a bit, right? So the signs are subtle, and we don't often see, like, that whole spring, I kept going, I need to launch something. Like, I don't have an income. And my guidance kept saying, Jeffrey, will any good come from it if you launch something from this state? I'm like, well, no. And then they're like, don't do it then. We've got you. We've got you. We've got you. I'm like, but, we've got you. I mean, for months, that summer, I went on this trip. I won't, for sake of time, tell the whole story of the blind faith of this trip, but it was like one-way tickets without knowing what the next stop was going to be. And in the very first week of the trip, a colleague called me who always really liked me, my old business partner, not as much, right? And when he learned we had split up, he's like, what are you doing November 2 through 4? And he was a very successful dude. And I'm like, there's tumbleweeds in my calendar. I'm like, I think I'm available. He's like, you need to speak at my event. I'm like, okay. A week later, he called me and he's like, hey, what would you think about co-leading a year-long program with me from that event? And immediately my guidance said, this is what we've said. We've got you. Here you go. Right. And I'm like, okay. And we did that event and had about 100 people enroll in a year-long program. And I had a percentage of that. In one weekend, I made my entire year's salary. So it was, but I couldn't see it, And it wasn't even mine to see, it was mine to receive, really. And so, that place of listening, that faith and that trust, I feel like that's so much about what the dark is designed to give you.
I really wish we had more time to go into that because that is one of the core lessons I think that we all need to really go through those experiences to truly understand at not an intellectual level, but an embodiment level.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears one more time.
Okay.
How are you using all of this positive momentum that you've built for yourself in your life, in your business now to pay it forward, to give back?
The last couple of years, I've had a real kind of shift in what I've been called to do and who I've been called to serve and why. And it's really been spiritually oriented leaders in traditional realms of business. I was just telling you before we started about a real estate developer I work with, right? Who know they are on a spiritual mission and meant to bring some evolutionary way of doing things to their industry. And so part of what I've been called to do is to bring that group together. In fact, it was this developer. He was here doing a day long with me in Los Angeles, and over lunch, he's like, "Tell me about some of the other clients you work with." And I told him about some other leaders in traditional industries, similarly following a calling. And he looked at me over lunch and he just said, "Would you ever bring us together?" He's like, "I'm in YPO and that's great. And, I learned a lot there, but people don't speak about callings there. I have mentors and people in real estate that help mentor me in real estate. They don't talk about, no one that I know who is a leader in business also speaks the language of spirit, right? Can you gather us together?" And so I have. And it's really been this another faith walk in a way of going, I don't exactly know where and how to quote unquote locate these people. They seem to drift in when they're ready, but it's a home. It's a home for them. And I feel like so many of us, foundationally, our mission is around liberation and belonging. As at the patterned level in society in terms of the work we bring to the world. And we need a home for ourselves. And so it's been a real kind of labor of love to get that off the ground and bring those people together and nurture that community, and be a part of the community that I'm also nurturing. So that's probably the biggest place that my heart is focused in that kind of giving back, giving forward in my business.
So good. It's such a beautiful thing when we're willing to listen to that guidance because it is so rewarding. It is such an incredible feeling to be going with the flow and supporting others in a way that just feeds the soul. So I want to thank you so much, Jeffrey, for being with us, for sharing a little bit of your personal journey. It is always a pleasure to connect with you, and I absolutely love doing these interviews. So thank you so much for bringing your energy and your wisdom to us today.
Well, thank you for hosting the conversation and thanks for having me in it. I appreciate it.
Well, it is my pleasure, and got to thank everyone who is tuning in, joining us for these segments. Keep doing the amazing things that you are being called to do. And until next time, we will see you in another episode.